Welcome to News Today with WDW News Today. I'm Tom Kroos. Here now the news for June 26, 2020. Disney Parks has announced a re-theming of Splash Mountain to The Princess and the Frog in the wake of a petition to change the attraction. According to the OC Register, the popular log flume ride, previously themed to the controversial Song of the South film, will be transformed to feature characters in a storyline based on the 2009 animated film, The Princess and the Frog. No date or official name has been announced for the attraction makeover, but the working title for the project is New Adventures with Princess Tiana. Also, that's terrible. Both Disneyland and Walt Disney World intend on reopening with the current iterations of the ride to be closed at a later date for the re-theming. Despite the coincidental timing with the trending petitions to reskin the ride, Disney states that development of the backstory reportedly began last year, settling on concepts just last summer. The next step for Walt Disney Imagineering will be to conduct digital scans of the ride layouts at both parks. On top of that, Tony Baxter will be serving as a creative advisor on the planning and design of the makeover. Of course, Tony was the man behind Splash Mountain to begin with. The Disney Parks blog also released some backstory on the new theme, as well as insight from the talented cast of Princess and the Frog and Imagineers like Charita Carter, who are leading the project. Quote, "Today we are thrilled to share a first glimpse of a project Imagineers have been working on since last year. Splash Mountain at both Disneyland Park in California and the Magic Kingdom Park in Florida will soon be completely reimagined. The theme is inspired by an all-time favorite Disney animated film, The Princess and the Frog. We pick up the story after the final kiss and join Princess Tiana and Louis on a musical adventure featuring some of the powerful music from the film as they prepare for their first ever Mardi Gras performance. Tiana is a modern, courageous, and empowered woman who pursues her dreams and never loses sight of what's really important. It's a great story with a strong lead character set against the backdrop of New Orleans and the Louisiana Bayou. In 1966, Walt himself opened New Orleans Square when it became the first new land added to Disneyland, so it feels natural to link the story and the incredible music of The Princess and the Frog to our parks." The voice of Princess Tiana and Tony Award-winning actress Anika Noni Rose shared, quote, "It is really exciting to know that Princess Tiana's presence in both Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom will be fully realized. As passionate as I am about what we created, I know the fans are going to be over the moon. The Imagineers are giving us the Princess and the Frog Mardi Gras celebration we've been waiting for, and I'm here for it." Personally, I think this is interesting because Anika Noni Rose has not voiced the character much since the original film. I believe she did Ralph Breaks the Internet, but they have had to recast the character for any video games, any other park appearances like the shows and things. She has not done, but it's nice to hear that she will at least be doing this attraction. The Disney Parks blog goes on to say, quote, "The approach to retheming or plussing attractions, as Walt Disney referred to it, begins with Imagineers asking the question, how can we build upon or elevate the experience and tell a fresh, relevant story? It's a continuous process that Imagineers are deeply passionate about. And with this long-standing history of updating attractions and adding new magic, the retheming of Splash Mountain is of particular importance today. The new concept is inclusive, one that all our guests can connect with and be inspired by, and it speaks to the diversity of millions of people who visit our parks each year." Charita Carter, the senior creative producer leading the project for Walt Disney Imagineering, shared, quote, "Like Princess Tiana, I believe that courage and love are the key ingredients for wonderful adventures. I'm delighted to be a part of bringing this fun-filled experience to our guests." Meanwhile, in a new interview with Bob Weiss, the president of Walt Disney Imagineering, D23 ventured into what this announcement means for other Imagineering projects on the horizon. Quote, "We have separate project teams working on these efforts, but we are still evaluating project timelines based on extended closures we've experienced due to COVID-19. While several projects like Avengers Campus at both California Adventure and Disneyland Paris are able to surge forward based on where we were in development, there are others that will be picked back up in stages, like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and Tron, and some that are longer term that we will need more time to assess. We are working with our operations partners now to determine the timing for this project to get underway. For now, we know that both the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland Parks will reopen with Splash Mountain whenever they do reopen." This is obviously a really interesting moment in history. Splash Mountain has been around at Disneyland for over 30 years. It's approaching 30 years at Walt Disney World. Many people consider it a classic. I think it's a classic. It's really interesting that they've chosen to do this. I think what's really interesting is Disney in no way mentioned the existence of the petition or any of the circumstances around this announcement, and then they basically claim that they already had this in development, which we don't know the validity of, honestly. It's a really, really interesting moment. I think, obviously, I'm going to miss Splash Mountain. It's a big part of my childhood. But also, I mean, we've said on the shows, we obviously understand the reasoning behind it. That makes sense. I can't deny the feelings people have about the attraction, and nor would I ever try to diminish the way people feel about the attraction in either direction. Personally, I will miss it. I will always love it. I always love these characters. I think they're very cute. And yeah, I mean, obviously I have a lot of strong memories as a child attached to this attraction. I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably do as well. But, you know, I think I've said on social media how I feel about the choice of a replacement, that as with many things in recent years with them, it feels shoehorned and not necessarily as if they've picked out the strongest story or the story that fits best. And I think a lot of people even said 2 weeks ago when the petition started that maybe this wasn't the best place for a Princess and the Frog attraction, and perhaps it should get its own unique offering that's not a reskin of something. And I certainly don't disagree with that. It's a great movie. It's a wonderful film that I loved. It's in, I believe it's in my top 10 or 15. I remember when we did the countdown. So I love this movie. I don't know how I feel about its placement at Walt Disney World. Certainly at Disneyland, it makes a lot more sense. It's close to New Orleans Square. It's almost in New Orleans Square. Now it will, in fact, be in New Orleans Square. But the Florida version leaves me scratching my head a little bit. But I guess, you know, looking for thematic integrity in a Frontierland in 2020 is rough when we believe that people don't connect with Western stories anymore, right? So, yeah. But please let us know tastefully and politely in the comments below how you feel about the change. Be mindful of everyone's feelings on both sides of the argument. While projects like the Avengers Campus are still moving along as scheduled, like we just said, it appears that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at Disneyland Park and the Tron Light Cycle Run at the Magic Kingdom are moving forward in stages in terms of completion. That would mean that Tron will likely miss the deadline of Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, and that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway may have been postponed from its expected 2022 opening date. On top of that, undisclosed quote-unquote longer-term projects will also be impacted. Earlier this year, it was announced that there would be a $900 million decrease in CapEx spending anticipated for fiscal year 20, mostly due to postponed construction and refurbishment projects during the closure around the world. But again, they are saying that there is an unclear future for these longer-term projects, and so it is undoubtedly true that something that has been announced for the future of the Disney parks will not be happening. What that is, we still don't know, but they have at least publicly said that much at this time. Shortly after the announcement of its imminent retheming, Splash Mountain fans are headed to Walt Disney World and the World of Disney at Disney Springs to collect merchandise related to the attraction ahead of the closure. Guests have already emptied racks of previously held the Brer Rabbit Disney Park Pals figures. Pending any restocks, the Brer Rabbit Park Pals figure is currently sold out, also online, and the one from the display has even been removed. We still managed to find a few of the Splash Mountain notepad sets, which feature various characters from the soon-to-be extinct attraction. The notepad sets cost $9.99 or $8 each when you buy two. Same fans that cleared out the shelves at World of Disney will likely be zipping their way over to the Briar Patch when it reopens with the Magic Kingdom on July 11th. Earlier this week, Disneyland Resort revealed that due to state restrictions, it'll be postponing the reopening of its theme parks and resorts to an undisclosed date. Now, in a statement to the Orlando Sentinel, Walt Disney World has indicated that their reopening is still planned to go on schedule with no changes. County officials stated that the decision to possibly postpone the reopening is completely up to Walt Disney World and the state government. In a recent statement to 10 Tampa Bay, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis stated that there are no plans to stop any approved reopening. Quote, "We are monitoring all aspects related to COVID-19 in Florida and do not have plans to roll back any approved reopening business plans at this time." Given that their plans have already been approved, it's unlikely that Disney will backtrack on their big reopening announcements. Just this week, the resort launched a new Park Pass system, allowing guests with confirmed resort hotel bookings and today annual pass holders to make theme park reservations as early as July 11th for the reopening of the Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom. Of course, Epcot and Disney's Hollywood Studios are slated to reopen on July 15th. Previews for affinity groups are scheduled to take place prior to July 11th, and as of June 24th, the state has reported 5,508 new cases overnight. That's obviously much higher today. I don't have that number in front of me, but that's according to data published by the Health Department, bringing confirmed cases in the state to a new high. Rise and shine annual pass holders. As I just said, the Disney Park Pass reservation system went live for you today. Do note that as of now, the entirety of July has been booked up at Hollywood Studios and reservations are going fast. August remains with limited availability at the parks, especially on weekends. We expect more dates to book up as the day progresses and over the weekend. Of course, cancellations can occur, opening up additional booking windows in the future, but for now, those dates are fully unavailable. You can access the availability calendar by clicking on a certain page of the Walt Disney World website. We have that link on our site for you. Calendars can be filtered by theme park resort guests, Disney resort guests, and annual pass holders. There are separate availabilities for all of those. Resort guests can still book most days at most parks. Early on this morning, with the launch of the Disney Park Pass system for pass holders, we came across an interesting issue with the reservation process. After booking theme park reservations for our respective resort stays earlier in the week, we weren't sure whether we'd also be able to get our 3 annual pass holder reservations in addition. Upon attempting to make additional reservations today, we found that we were only able to make 1 reservation before receiving the not-so-fast error on the page. Although some of us were not able to make any more, but then some of you were able to make up to 3. So it doesn't really seem that any of this is working correctly, but Disney states the following on its pass holder page. The note before you go, quote, all annual pass holders are eligible to make theme park reservations for up to 3 days at a time, or annual pass holders staying at Disney resorts or other select hotels with valid theme park admission are eligible to make theme park reservations for their entire resort length of stay. It seems annual pass holders are ultimately limited to either 3 Disney Park Pass reservations or a set number of reservations allotted through a resort booking. If you're a pass holder and have theme park reservations made through a resort booking already, you may have been blocked from making those additional 3. And availability is going fast today, as we just said. So if you're having issues in one way or the other, you may want to contact Disney. Disney, in conjunction with the NBPA, has officially announced that the NBA will be coming to Walt Disney World for their resumed 2019-2020 season. The full announcement reads, quote, the National Basketball Association and the National Basketball Players Association announced today that they have finalized a comprehensive plan for July 30th restart for the 2019-20 season, which includes stringent health and safety protocols, a single-site campus at Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, and the goal of taking collective action to combat systemic racism and promote social justice. In addition, the NBA and Disney have reached an agreement that makes the arena, the Fieldhouse, and Visa Athletic Center at ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex the venues for all games for the remainder of the season, which will resume with 22 teams returning to play and with no fans in attendance. The NBA and the NBPA confirmed today an agreement on health and safety protocols that will govern the resumption of the season. The rigorous program, which addresses risks related to COVID-19 and focuses on the well-being of players, coaches, officials, and staff, was developed in consultation with public health experts, infectious disease specialists, and government officials. As announced on Wednesday, the NBA and the NBPA have agreed in principle that the goal of the season restart will be to find tangible and sustainable ways to address racial inequality across the country. Leaders from the NBA and NBPA have also discussed strategies to increase black representation across the NBA and its teams, ensuring greater inclusion of black-owned and operated businesses across NBA business activities, and form an NBA foundation to expand educational and economic development opportunities across the black community. In recognition that long-term change can only come from an informed and sustained commitment, conversations regarding these efforts will continue, and additional details will be released at a later date. Sadly, it looks like guests won't be able to say Jumbo to Animal Kingdom Lodge's Jumbo House anytime soon. The resort has been removed from Walt Disney World's listing of reopening resorts, effectively canceling the previously announced July 10th reopening. Furthermore, the resort has also been removed from the listing of resorts accepting reservations for 2021. Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge Villa's Kidani Village remains available. Currently, the resort joins All-Star Resorts, Movies, Music, and Sports, the Port Orleans Resorts, French Quarter and Riverside, and Wilderness Lodge, and the non-Disney Vacation Club sections of Animal Kingdom Lodge as having neither scheduled reopening dates nor 2021 availability. Welcome home to those lucky enough to be calling the Grand Floridian Resort home for their grand reopening. And for those, there's a special new Mickey-shaped treat at the Gasparilla Island Grill. First, let's discuss the new modified ordering process to get you familiarized with the setup. While famed as a 24-hour eatery, Gasparilla Island Grill is now operating under reduced hours, open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. for now. The location also participates in mobile order, so you can place an order for food right from the My Disney Experience app. After completing your order, you're directed to one of these numbered markers to pick up your items, as well as get utensils via the touch-free dispenser. Traditional checkout is also available with cast members stationed at the registers, which have been outfitted with plexiglass barriers. Resort mugs are still available, but the refill process has changed, as we outlined in earlier posts. And throughout the dining room, tables have been set up to accommodate social distancing. And while there, we couldn't resist getting the new Mickey Chocolate Cake Pop. A chocolate-covered base is dipped in colorful sprinkles with 2 chocolate discs for Mickey ears, all for $8. Full review of this new item can be found on our website. Back in February, Disney Springs celebrated the opening of Rustic Cuff, a limited-time pop-up store dedicated to boutique jewelry. The store was announced in January, opening to a full house in February, but ultimately shut down with the rest of Walt Disney World in March. The store welcomed back guests once the rest of the shopping and dining district began the phased reopening in mid-May, but after an abrupt closure yesterday, all signs of Rustic Cuff have been removed from its former location. The building, located adjacent to the Oakley store and across from Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar and the Landing, has been stripped of all signage and awnings related to Rustic Cuff. Black plastic coverings line the windows and doors to obscure the inside, and given the recent announcement of Gideon's Bakehouse coming to Disney Springs, located somewhere in the Landing, it's believed that this may become the home for the bakery. The location may have to be outfitted with a commercial kitchen, or like many other bakeries in Disney Springs, like Aaron McKenna's, it may have its popular cookies, cakes, and other food items baked in mass off property and brought in for display or final touches as part of a show kitchen. Gideon's promises an immersive experience for guests, presenting their story as guests progress towards the counter. After a few setbacks due to the soon-to-conclude extended closure, the first member of Tokyo Disney Resort's new monorail fleet will enter service on July 3rd. In a video released on the official Tokyo Disney Resort YouTube channel, the new monorails undergoing construction and delivery to the resort were shown off. We've seen off and on testing of the new trains, especially since their service was originally set to begin on May 21st. Check out the video on our website. The new trains feature longer seats and a larger interior. In addition, each vehicle has a free space for wheelchairs or strollers, and wide spaces are in place on the third and fourth cars of each train. At both ends, the observation seats on the top vehicle have been adjusted to allow for better stroller and wheelchair access, as well as they are popular with kids. Also, the height of the iconic Mickey-shaped straps have been altered to fit 3 different levels, so guests of all heights can reach them. Even the lighting has been moved from direct overhead lighting to less visible lighting around the ceiling and below seats to create a warmer and more modern environment. These trains are scheduled to roll out through 2024 with the gradual retirement of the old trains. That means they'll hopefully complete the fleet following the end of the Tokyo Disney Resort's 40th anniversary celebration. The new trains will enter service again Friday, July 3rd, and we're excited to see these adorable new trains in service, and we'll be there to show off all the cool details for you. For more information on these stories and more, head on over to WDWNT.com. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to like this video, subscribe to WDW News Today on YouTube for more great content, and click the bell for notifications. Also, make sure to select all notifications so you never miss an episode of the show. Also, be sure to subscribe to Universal Parks News Today here on YouTube. I have a new show coming out there today as well. For the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is Tom Corliss saying enjoy the rest of your today and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody.
Dreamfinders is WDW News Today's podcast all about the creative culture surrounding Disney parks. Authors, Imagineers, dancers, actors, photographers, filmmakers, and a whole lot more have all stopped by to chat about how Disney has inspired their artistic work.
But I still remember sitting in conference tables and looking across at Michael and Jeffrey Katzenberg and this sort of little 6-year-old inside of me going, what in heaven's name is going on here?
And we're off and running, and Tony needs someone to lay it out for him. And there's no architect available. So the next thing I know, I'm laying out the pavilion.
I got to tell you, I have not enjoyed a podcast so much. It's just a warm conversation, and a warm and intelligent conversation, which you don't find that often in podcasts.
Dreamfinders. Episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher.